Good evening, everybody. I'm back again for my second Hadrian's Lover vlog. I left off in the middle of Crystal's report. In fact, the last line, the last sentence of the report where I left off was, "Thus, upon foundation of our good country, the first article of justice states the need to embrace and nurture human homosexual tendencies as well as create strict procreation laws." As I mentioned yesterday, at the beginning of yesterday's vlog, Hadrian is a country in which heterosexuality is illegal, and there is a very strong focus on creating a stable human population. As I've said this in the future, after world population has exploded beyond any possible means of the planets being able to sustain us all. Not that we're not almost already there anyway. So, I will carry on with Crystal's report. With modern medical advances, our geneticists boast having reduced the Kinsey scale by 2 points. Billington, The Homosexual Gene, page 32. Although our geneticists are, as yet, unable to distinguish between each of the gradations of Kinsey's behavioral scale, they are confident enough to pronounce that there are no more zeros or ones amongst any of Hadrian's citizens. This means that every child born into Hadrian society is, at the very least, a 2. We do not deny that the 2 still has a stronger leaning towards heterosexual behavior. However, inside every 2 is a latent homosexual. It is our job as citizens of Hadrian to help these individuals release and embrace their true and socially acceptable inner desires. Until the day when our scientists have created the perfect human genome where all who are born will be 6s, we must forever work with our children, reminding them why our country was founded and the critical need to maintain a stable human population. This is why re-education camps were formed, not to harm and abuse our citizens, but to remind our youth of our country's founding family's ideals and the necessity of maintaining strict vigilance. Many of today's youth are unaware of our early immigration policy. In the beginning, Hadrian's borders were open to immigrants, inviting homosexuals from around the world to join us. Many people swarmed to our gates, and not all of these people were homosexual. In fact, a large number, at least 15%, were people who believed themselves to be homosexual. They believed themselves, in fact, to be a 1 or 2 on the Kinsey scale. 2 individuals who joined us, Mark and Julie Reiner, a pure heterosexual couple, agreed to sterilization prior to being allowed into our community. Neither had wanted to be parents anyways. Children they viewed immoral in an overpopulated world. They also agreed to permanent separation, each locating to opposite ends of the country. They knew when they immigrated to Hadrian that they were entering a homosexual community, a community dedicated to restraining the human population growth, a country dedicated to putting into place the necessary checks and balances to create a stable human population. These noble people chose to deny their heterosexual tendencies, accepting celibacy in its place for the very sake of humanity's future. All of Hadrian's citizens are asked to make such sacrifices if indeed one perceives who we are a sacrifice at all. Perhaps the greatest sacrifice made by any Hadrian citizen is that of the surrogate goddess. These women open up their wombs, choosing to be the mothers of our men's children. Without these women, our homosexual men would be bereft of the benefits of rearing many of Hadrian's citizens. It is no wonder these women are treated like goddesses in our world. In fact, it is the expressed desire of this author to become a revered surrogate goddess. It is also important to remind our youth that Hadrian's first citizens swore an oath of fidelity to our founding principles. Although our children are not required to swear this oath until coming of age, 21, it is expected of all Hadrian citizens to raise their children with a clear understanding of not only the world inside our walls, but of the dangerous world that surrounds us. That dangerous world battles against our walls daily as a reminder. Heterosexual barbarians are constantly threatening to take over our country. Hadrian's ballistic missile detection and tracking system is state-of-the-art. It is truly terrifying to learn how many incoming missiles our military has protected us from. There is a virtual wasteland outside our walls where many of our intercept missiles have detonated those threats. Dodger, The Military Sciences, page 182. Although conscription of our youth into Hadrian's military between the ages of 18 and 22 years is undeniable, rather undesirable, it is undeniably essential. We must defend Hadrian's way of life at all cost. The worst attack against our peoples occurred a mere 8 years ago when an evangelical Christian drove across our borders exploding a dirty nuclear device in Augustus City. The loss of Quadrant 1 southern grassland region and the devastation to our populace was the final straw that drove our people into exile from the outside world. No more are tourists from other countries allowed to visit our fair and spacious country. Although we retain fair trade with friendly countries through export and import, we no longer believe outsiders can be trusted to cross over our borders. Miller, The Resurgence of the Law, page 42. Hadrian's population must remain xenophobic. We cannot allow the ravages of disease to infect the only stable human population. Annually, hundreds of millions of outsiders die of disease and starvation, and yet those numbers never seem to impact the ever-growing population. We in Hadrian will never send our children out there to live with them. No, it is much kinder, much safer to our wayward youth to be reclaimed through education. Although some of our youth may believe themselves to be fully heterosexual, it is incumbent upon us to help them understand what it means to be a 2 on the Kinsey scale and help them awaken and embrace their latent homosexual. Hadrian is the savior of humanity. While the rest of the world procreates itself into excessive human waste and decay, our small population will live on. Hadrian's values ensure the human race will survive. That is the end of Crystal's report. That is the prologue to Hadrian's Lover. Crystal is a secondary character in the novel. She plays a very important role in terms of her relationships with other characters, whom you may meet in future vlogs. Bye for now.